The movie opens up as a boat ride through a scenic ocean. A large group of tourists are seen sitting in the ferry, and we hear many of them having weird conversations among themselves. They arrive at their destination and get off the ferry. A pretty woman named Mel gets off as well with her bag and suitcase. She goes to the police station where an officer leads her to his office. He gives her a wallet of a deceased woman, and we notice that as Mel is going through the contents, she finds pictures inside which make her sniffle with grief. We learn that it actually belonged to a woman named Georgia who was Mel's sister. The officer tells her that Georgia was tombstoning which led to her death, but Mel isn't very convinced, so the officer goes on to say that it might be drug-related and no one has come forward with any information. Mel looks at a picture of Georgia given to get her by the officer and finds a strange tattoo on her leg and asks about it, but the officer doesn't know anything and just pays his condolence. Seeing that the business is done, Mel leaves the place after looking at missing people's posters, getting curious. Later on, she gets a call from her mother and confirms to her that it is indeed Georgia. We see the poor mother grieve as Mel tells her about how it happened, but they both seem to be in agreement that it is indeed not the case. They both start to cry, which makes Mel cut the phone and leave in a hurry. We see Mel arrive at a nice resort as she is welcomed by a gorgeous woman named Paula who runs the place. Mel also meets Keaton, who is the owner. Both of them reassure her about staying here as they were Georgia friends. Paula takes her to her room and shows her some of Georgia's stuff while recalling her memories with her. Mel tells her childhood experience about how Georgia was the light-hearted out of them with a free spirit. While searching her things, Mel finds that Georgia's passport and phone is missing, to which Paula seems clueless. Mel asks Paula how her sister was before her death, to which Paula tells her that Georgia was distant and cold in the last few weeks before her death. She goes on to tell how Georgia was a party girl, but Mel isn't too sure about it. We skip to see that they both seem regretful about not checking up on her more. Paula tells her how they are starting a crisis center to deal with such accidents in the future, which makes Mel grateful. Later in her room, Mel looks at Georgia's video with a sad expression on her face, trying to make sense of things. At night, we see her going out as a creepy dude follows her. Now terrified, she rushes inside a pub to get away from the creep, and she sees a bartender who introduces himself as Jever. Now calm, we them enjoy their beers as Jever asks her questions. We learn that he knows Georgia and knows what happened to her. Mel tells how she saw her body and asks Jever if she behaved weirdly before, to which Jever just tells how he didn't see her too much in her last days. They seem to become friends as they talk about how much of a weirdo Georgia was. Next day, we see Mel go at the beach when she sees a woman sitting there, so she goes to introduce herself. We learn that the woman is Kaya, and she was a witness of Georgia's body being carried away. She goes on to say how people like Georgia are fools to even try something so dangerous that will eventually kill them. When Mel asks her about Georgia's things, Kaya just brushes her off, saying how locals call this place haunted. After some time, we see Mel looking at a social page while talking to someone from her job. Paula arrives there and asks her what we did last night. Paula tells how Jever is a shady dude, telling Mel to leave her work and to come to the fundraiser for the crisis center. At night, we see Mel get ready to leave for the gala. Both her and Paula arrive at the fancy place where the gala is being held. Paula gives her a necklace to make Mel look more sophisticated as she looked too stiff in her drab business attire. Paula leaves Mel to go talk to people, leaving Mel alone. Out of the corner of her eye, Mel sees something shady as guard leaves in a hurry after getting a message. Mel sees Keaton arrive and talks to him about his business. He offers Mel a job while flirting with Paula. As the night progresses, Paula makes a speech about the tragic demise of Georgia, saying that how they have to make this island more safe so something like this doesn't happen again. We see them laugh and giggle, learning about all the money that they have made from the charity gala. Tired, Mel leaves the room but stops when she sees a broocher having the same symbol that she saw on her sister. Alarmed, she tells Paula about it, but Paula isn't very concerned and calls a car for Mel to take her back. As she is on her phone, the car stops, dropping her away from her hotel. She gets out but gets the scare of her life when a car nearly hits her. In her room, she sits on the couch, deep in thought about what happened. Next day, she meets with the detective and learns how there has been a tip from someone who saw Georgia at the cliff late at night. Mel grows suspicious and shows the symbol from the brochure to the detective, explaining that she saw the exact same thing on Georgia. However, the detective dismisses her concerns, promising to look into it. Mel persists, recounting how she was nearly killed by a car. Before she leaves, the detective advises her to be cautious and return home to grieve in peace. On her way back, Mel talks to her mother about her suspicions, expressing a desire to uncover the truth. While speaking, she enters a shop and buys herself a new phone, unaware that she is being followed by a creepy man who turns out to be Jever. They both go to hang out, and Jever asks Mel about her day. She explains how the current events are making her feel crazy. Jever shares that he and Georgia were planning to go out, but she never returned. He swears that he saw her on a boat at night, which seems to be the last time he saw her. When Mel mentions Detective Alex, Jever is amused and refers to him as a dirty cop. Mel shows the symbol to Jever, but he doesn't recognize it. Mel explains that it is related to a website that requires a selfie to join. On her way back, Mel encounters Kaya and buys cute bands from her. She notices a missing poster of a girl named Faye and asks Kaya about her. It becomes clear that Faye was friends with Georgia. Georgia. Mel asks Kaya further questions about Faye, learning that she went missing a month ago, but no one really looked for her. In her room, Mel is on the shady side again and she sees the same creepy tattoo on Faye as well. Now curious, she records a video recalling the incident while asking others for their help in finding Faye. We see a sunny scene outside as Mel enjoys her drink when she strikes up a conversation with the girl behind the counter named Sarah. Sarah tells her how Paula helped her in her difficult times. The lady of the hour arrives as Mel asks her about the number in the brochure, but Paula brushes it off, giving Mel a sense that something is not right. Later that night, Mel arrives at a club seeking information on Faye, but the man there shuts the door on her. Dejected, she leaves but receives a message from someone telling her that they met Georgia in a shop and saw her leaving with someone in the woods. Surprised, Mel hails a cab that takes her to the forest, to the same place that the women in the recording had mentioned. She gets out, instructing the driver to wait for her. As Mel wanders the forest, she hears beating drums and follows the sounds of the commotion. Suddenly, she gets chased by unknown people after tripping over a wire. Despite this, she quickly gets up and runs. Afterwards, she takes a shower and grabs her phone to call Detective Alex, but he doesn't pick up. She learns that other people have seen the same tattoo on their dead loved ones. We see Mel take a provocative picture and send it to someone. Meanwhile, she notices Paula leaving the police station as she enters. She tells Alex how she was followed last night, but the cunning detective doesn't really listen to her. Mel also informs him about the tip she received regarding Georgia on a boat, but she chooses to hide Jever's identity as the source of this information. They have an argument as Mel urges the incompetent cop to do his job. Later at a cafe, Mel receives a call from her mother with shocking news that Georgia is alive. Confused, Mel opens Georgia's feed and sees a video posted by her, claiming she's taking a social media break. Not convinced, Mel goes to the police station again, but the cop just tells her to leave as the case is closed. When Mel brings up Faye, Detective Alex gets angry and starts to taunt her, prompting her to leave. Later on, we see Mel ask Jever about the boat he saw, to which Jever makes a scary comment that it seems someone is out to get Mel as well, and that she should be careful. As they are talking, she gets a call from work, making her angry, while Jever lightens up the mood with his antics. The next day, we see Mel on her way to the beach. She receives a call from her mother, who tells her how she informed Georgia's followers about the situation being weird. As Mel talks to her mother, she spots the strange stalker man again, causing her to leave the area. Back at the resort, Sarah informs Mel that Paula and Keaton are waiting for her. They learn that Kaya is now missing, and as Sarah prepares to leave on a yacht, they are interrupted by an overly zealous Paula. Mel arrives in the room and joins them for drinks, discussing Georgia's reappearance. Keaton begins to engage in a full-on pretentious conversation with Paula, prompting Mel to inquire about how they met. It becomes apparent that they have something more than just a work relationship between them. Suddenly, Georgia calls Paula, prompting Mel to snatch the phone to talk to her sister. Mel becomes confused when Georgia starts to make cryptic statements, causing Mel to worry for her, while Paula and Keaton try to reassure her. Suddenly, Mel starts to feel woozy, so she heads to her room. However, she is attacked by a man. She manages to escape and runs to Jever's bar, but finds it locked. She calls him, and Jever tells her to come to the boat immediately. Upon arriving, Mel learns that Jever was beaten up by some thugs. She reveals her encounter and tells Jever that someone is trying to frame him for her murder. Worried about her safety, Jever advises her to leave. A budding relationship seems to develop between them. Mel ends up sleeping at Jever's place. Despite Jever's insistence that she stay, she is eager to leave. Mel's mother finally arrives and goes to Jever's place looking for her daughters, especially Mel. Jever seems to have an idea and decides to lead her to Mel. Later on, we see Mel join Sarah on the yacht where they are greeted by Edith, who will serve them. Both Mel and Sarah enjoy the ride while Edith serves them, but as Sarah starts to take pictures, Edith tells them to hand over their phones due to restrictions. However, as she grabs their phones, Edith makes a comment about social media detox that makes both Sarah and Mel uncomfortable. Feeling unnerved, Mel asks Edith a question but notices the same tattoo on her as well. Meanwhile, Alice, Mel's mom, calls Jever asking about updates about Mel. Unable to enter the police station because it is locked, she calls the police, explaining the situation to them. Now at the island, Edith leads both Mel and Sarah to a car which takes them to a huge mansion. As they enter, they get an unnerving feeling from this place. They are greeted by Paula and Keaton, who give them a choice to work for them. Not impressed, Mel gets straight to the point and asks Paula about Georgia, but Paula tells her that she is not here and that Mel should stop her search. They arrive at a room seeing people having drinks as Paula and Keaton leave the room. The nasty cop Alex is also there. Seeing him, Mel leaves to find the bathroom but actually goes on to spy on the place. She enters a room and hears that guards are searching for her. Nervous, she starts to take pictures of the room before leaving. She stumbles upon Keaton and Paula having an argument about what they did to Georgia when suddenly, out of nowhere, Keaton hits Paula while taunting her. Mel realizes that they are actually involved in a shady human trafficking business. Manipulating her, Keaton tells Paula to deal with Mel and Georgia while also subtly threatening her. Now aware of the real danger, Mel runs and hides from the guards as they search the premises for her. She enters a room with creepy middle-aged men watching something, and she is surprised to find Georgia inside. Mel makes a plan to get them out of there as she frees Georgia. We see both sisters creeping as they make their way out of the mansion. Frazzled, they run into the woods when suddenly they get caught by guards who sedate them. We see that Jever is now on the island, walking around as he keeps updating Alice, but he ends up getting caught. Later on, we see the sisters wake up chained to the bed. Suddenly, as two men enter the room to take them, they put up a good fight but eventually get taken away. Now inside the car, Georgia tells Mel about her friend Faye and how she was killed because she was too much trouble. We see that the event of her death traumatized Georgia. Listening to them, the guard intervenes, taunting them, calling them idiots. They arrive at the beach and see Paula and Keaton there with a stoic face. Seeing this, Mel starts to confront Paula about her role in the nasty business, which makes Keaton get between them. Seeing an opportunity, Mel throws a glass at him, but soon the moment becomes tense as Keaton puts a gun to Georgia's head, threatening Mel. As he gets ready to shoot Georgia, in a shocking turn of events, Paula shoots him. The sisters, relieved, grab Jever and get the hell out of there, leaving Paula as she grieves for Keaton. In the ending moments, we see Georgia reunited with her mother as Mel joins them as well. We see the heartfelt reunion between them as they thank Jever for his help as well.